everybody, DF here, and welcome to Beauties and Beasts, a podcast for all things Beauty and the Beast. I hope you're all doing well during this uncertain time with the coronavirus, with a lot of people staying confined at home. Yeah, you may have noticed that I have put my podcast on hiatus for a short while because I myself was sick. I had laryngitis and could not talk at all, so obviously I could not record. It was not the coronavirus, it was just spring allergies, which honestly is normal for me this time of year. Okay, so already we got a gift here from BellaPinkSavage of 5 gold beans. If you notice in the description, if you'd like a question or comment read aloud, minimum cost is 5 gold beans. And she asks, "Hey DF, how's it going? You doing alright?" Yeah, I was just saying, as you can hear, I am 10 times better than I was before. I'm sad that I had to put a delay on this episode. Although, thanks to the coronavirus, I got laid off from one job because I was teaching chess, and because schools were closed, I could not teach any chess clubs. And I'm working at the movie theater. Movie theaters are closed for 6 weeks at least. So for 6 weeks, I am completely out of a job, and this podcast is my only source of income. So that is why I'm kind of doing things a little differently right for the moment. I'm doing the regular analysis episodes live rather than just recording ahead of time and editing them down. Because, as I said, this is my only source of income, and also realized a lot of you probably are looking for stuff to do at home, and I thought you want to be more engaged in the episodes for the time being. So, yeah, that is how I'm doing. I am alive, I am no longer sick, and now I'm going back to the podcast and doing some more live streams. Yeah, there is a catch, for those of you who just entered the chat. If you want to ask a question or you want a comment read aloud during the stream, that requires a minimum donation of 5 gold beans, which is about 4 cents, unless you are already a patron and make a monthly pledge. Shout out to Anime Guy 1101 and Tyrannosaurus Venom. If you don't have any gold beans, just hit the gift button to purchase them from Podbean. Yeah, the minimum is 5 gold beans, or the one with the hand clap symbol. But if you want, you can donate more. Yeah, I'm already noticing some comments. People are getting bored with this quarantine, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this live. Yeah, sorry, like I said, currently out of work, and this is my only source of income. It's little, but it's some money. And at least I still live with my parents, and I got my tax return, so I should at least survive until I can go back to work. But there are others who have it worse off than me, and for most people in the United States, there are people who are living in crisis zones like Syria who are not prepared for this coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, some people have been displaced from their homes, they have inadequate health care, and not even access to clean water, so that whole thing with washing your hands, they can't really do that on a regular basis. Which is why next week I will be hosting a charity live stream taking voice requests for donations that will be given to the International Rescue Committee so that they can help prepare these countries in crisis zones against the coronavirus. The plan is for Wednesday, but it is not exactly set in stone because I will not be doing it alone. Magpie Pony has already agreed to be a guest and lend her voice for some donations, and possibly, they haven't really decided officially, Will and Katie Patterson, if they can make it. I think Wednesday, though, we're still deciding on a time. If you want to keep updated, follow the podcast, and to know when the next live stream will be. For now, let's get to the topic at hand. So, March is Women's History Month, and in honor of that, I will be doing a special episode discussing the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel. Now, what does Hansel and Gretel have to do with Beauty and the Beast? Not really much, but it has a strong female heroine, and if you think about it, it actually has some pretty feminist undertones. Also, I felt it was appropriate to talk about this with the recent film released in January, Gretel and Hansel, taking the story in a more horror film direction. Okay, so remember, 5 gold beans minimum for any questions and comments during the stream. And please, if you could, while I'm discussing the topic, keep it related to what I am talking about. Any questions or comments that are not related to the topic, please save for the end of the stream after I've discussed everything. Alright, so, working at the movie theater, before the whole coronavirus thing, many guests were asked, and looking at the list of movies, asked me what Gretel and Hansel was about. And I'm like, okay, so do you know Hansel and Gretel? And surprisingly, I was met with a lot of no's. Now, then again, people had the same reactions to Little Women and Jane Austen's Emma. These were not kids, but they were adults. I wonder, does anybody read anymore? Granted, I am an English major, so I kind of, at least, am familiar with all the big stories in American, British, and European canon, at least. But I was surprised that fewer people were familiar with standard children's fairy tales. Of course, when I mentioned like the gingerbread house and the breadcrumbs and the witch, kind of jogged their memory a little bit. So here's a plot summary for the rest of you who have been living under a rock, I guess. So, some background on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale. It was written down by the famous Grimm brothers in the early part of the 19th century, a time when they were collecting many folk tales across Europe. This one in particular had come from a storyteller by the name of Dorchen Wilde, I hope I said that right, who actually later married Wilhelm Grimm. So, in a way, this story was written by a woman, and did not get writing credit. Yeah, that's 19th century for you. A lighter version had been adapted into an opera by Engelbert Humperdinck in 1893. He just kind of omitted the part of the child abandonment. And the earliest version that was in English was found in an 1853 anonymous collection of Grimm fairy tales. The story itself was sort of an amalgamation of European tales that had to do with children who were lost and also ogres. There were some French tales that had come beforehand that followed pretty similar plot lines. There was a story by Charles Perrault, who had written the famous version of Cinderella that we know, called Le Petit Poucet in 1697, about children who were abandoned by their parents in the woods. Most followed the first half of the story. And then, the year afterwards, there was a story by Madame d'Aulnoy called Finette Cindron, which tells the story of 3 princesses abandoned in the woods by their parents, and the heroine, Finetta, leaves items to lead them home, but on her third attempt, the peas that she left are eaten by pigeons. Sound a little familiar? And the 3 princesses find their way to a giant's house, and Finette ends up burning the giant in his enormous oven. Huh. Girl power in the 17th century, too. While there are variations on Hansel and Gretel, here is the version that most are familiar with. So, once upon a time, there was a woodcutter who lived in the woods, obviously, with his wife and his 2 kids from a previous marriage, a boy and a girl named Hansel and Gretel, and they are very poor and very starving. One night in bed, the stepmother insists that to her husband that they take the children deep into the forest, give them a crust of bread, and then just leave them there so that they can have all the little food they have left to themselves. And the woodcutter's like, "No, I'm not leaving my kids alone in the woods. What are you, nuts, woman?" And then she goes, "Yeah, you might as well cut the planks for our coffins." Okay, we've got a gift from BellaPinkSavage. I'm guessing, you want me to read the comment that you just wrote above that? I just want to confirm that's what you want me to read. Yeah, she says, "The stepmother sucks. You are so right." Yeah, stepmother definitely definitely sucks. Anyway, she ends up convincing the woodcutter that it's probably the best. I mean, it's better that the two of them feed themselves rather than split up among the four of them. They'll live longer. But he really pities his children, so he's not a totally horrible person. Hansel and Gretel, who couldn't sleep themselves, overheard this, and Hansel comes up with a plan. So he sneaks out of the house, collects some white pebbles he finds, and so when they're taken out to the forest the next day, he leaves a trail so that they can find their way home. And when the stepmother's plans are foiled, he comes up with the same plan the next night, and had barred the door so Hansel can't go out and get pebbles. So in the morning, Hansel leaves the crumbs of bread that they are given, but unfortunately, those breadcrumbs are eaten by birds. Yeah, funny how birds are. Oh, shush. So Hansel and Gretel wander around the woods until it grows dark, and then they come to a house that is made out of gingerbread. Now, they are absolutely starving, so you can't exactly blame them for rushing up and starting to eat the pieces off of the house, the roof, the window, which are all made of candy. An old woman comes out and invites them in for a very scrumptious meal and offers them 2 warm beds. But she's really a witch who eats children, and she had built the house to lure them in. She's described to have red eyes that can't see very far away, but she has a very keen sense of smell like a wolf. And while the children are sleeping, the witch takes Hansel and locks him in a stable, and then wakes Gretel and forces her to cook food for her brother so that she may fatten him up to eat, and also forces Gretel to do the chores around the house. I don't know why, because she's a girl? Shrug. The best food is given to Hansel, while Gretel is only given crab shells to eat. But Hansel is very sneaky when the witch comes to check his finger to see how fat he is getting. And he takes advantage of her very poor eyesight and hands her a chicken bone he found in the stable, so that it seems like his finger is very thin and he's not fattening at all. After about a month, she grows very impatient and vows that the next day she will eat him fat or thin. In the morning, the witch wakes Gretel and says that before cooking Hansel, they will bake some bread, and asks Gretel to creep into the oven to make sure it's heated. Yet you can guess what she's planning here. But Gretel is not a fool and says, "Oh, you know what? I don't think I will fit." "Of course you'll fit, you idiot. I mean, even I could fit in here. See, I'll show you." Famous last lines of a fool. So, yeah, the witch crawls into the oven to show her, and Gretel pushes her all the way in, shuts the door. "You go, girl." Alright, and BellaPinkSavage sends another gift. I think, yeah, I thought that was weird, because first you said Gretel isn't the hero, and then you corrected it. Yeah, Gretel is the hero. Yeah, you are right. And so, now that the witch is burning in the oven, Gretel goes and frees her brother, and then, here we have another gift of, oh, what's that? Wow, that's actually a lot of gold beans. What is that, 180? Okay, so Steve Samuels 3 says, fun fact, the average human adult cooked at the time of the story's release is about 100,000 calories. That is a... How do you freaking know that? Okay, now how do you know that? Okay. Well, that might explain how she can survive, just having one child every month or so. Science articles. Okay, that's the answer. Okay. Anyway, okay. So, Gretel frees her brother, and I should point out that this girl had started out crying and being very frightened of their situation and depending on her older brother to come up with all the ways to get them out of trouble. But then when he can't help, she steps up and takes matters into her own hands. Now that is character development. So when she frees Hansel, they take the witch's parts of the witch's house and also her treasures and find a way back home. They find their father there, who had been looking for them for days, feeling guilty, and find out that the stepmother is dead. So her plan not to starve had really backfired. But the family survives on the witch's loot, and they lived happily ever after. Okay, since you had made a big donation, I'm gonna read that comment there, Steve. Said in one of the stories they eat the witch. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. I have not heard that alternate ending. That's just brutal. I don't know how I feel about that. Kind of defeats the purpose of, and you know what? Well, what I will just say later, well, is why I'm so shocked of that. So yeah, the Grimm's Tale also mentions a scene in the story that doesn't really get put into later things. Oh, Bella sent another gift, saying that is absolutely disgusting. If they, yeah, they never find their way home and survive on the witch's body, they will eventually starve and die. Oh god, okay. Wow. Okay, this... I know this is a dark story, but this is... Oh god, you're killing me right now, Steve. What was I saying? Okay, wow, yeah, chat's going crazy right now. Okay. Oh, Baboushka, new donator, just sent a gift of 5 gold beans. What was it? So, what's the comment or question you want to say, Baboushka? I'll wait for you to think about it. So, now that I've gotten... Oh, yeah, nothing, just hello. Oh, well, then thank you for the 4 cents. Alright, so I want to say, there's a scene that doesn't really get... adapted a lot in the Grimm's Tale. When on their way back from the witch's house, they come to a giant lake, and a big white duck offers to carry them across. Because apparently ducks are that big. Anyway, Hansel hops on the duck and waits for Gretel, but she insists that he is not big enough for both of them to go, so she says that they should go separately. Now this is not used in many later adaptations, as this seems pretty out of place. But it shows how Gretel is no longer dependent on her brother and has gained her own sense of self. Now, they are still together. They're still together as siblings, but they've become independent as individuals. There's also a version where the witch doesn't die in the oven, but chases after the kids. And in that version, Gretel had stolen the witch's wand, and when they had come to the lake, she turns herself and Hansel into swans so they can get across, while the witch drowns in the lake. Honestly, the oven ending is more poetic justice, that she burns in the place where she's killed so many kids. Yeah. There's also a version in which there's no stepmother, but there's a real mom, and she had made custard using the eggs and milk that a neighbor had donated to them, and she was going to surprise the kids, but the kids, in their playing, had accidentally spilled the custard, and the mom is just so mad that she demands that they go into the woods, get some berries, and don't come back until they have them. Yeah, here the mom is not exactly abandoning her kids. She's just, in a fit of anger for kind of a justified reason. I mean, she hadn't really meant for her kids to get lost. And, yeah, that's kind of a natural reaction, honestly. And she was at least remorseful when she realized what she had done. So, I thought it was kind of cool in the magic wand lake ending that Gretel had somehow gotten her own powers, which I think inspired later TV and film adaptations. So this has been adapted so many times, I wonder why Disney has never taken a crack at it. I mean, other than this Mickey and Mouse short, but nothing feature length. The closest to the Grimm version that I have seen is from Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater in the 1980s with Joan Collins as the witch and stepmother. And I gotta say, that was my first encounter with the fairy tale, and it had scared the heck out of me. Yeah, it really scared out of me. I mean, who am I kidding? Most versions are scary. Hello, it's a cannibalistic witch. What's not scary about that? Especially when you're a kid yourself. Yeah, it's no wonder it's been given the horror film treatment. There have been many TV and film versions. There was a 1987 musical TV version in which that one had the birth mother and the whole custard thing, and she did not abandon them. This is done by Canon Group Inc. In that one, the children were made into gingerbread and then freed once the witch was burned, which actually makes no sense. I mean, did she just bake them into gingerbread, leave them there, and never eat them? And in that one, Gretel uses a staff to switch Hansel's place with the witch. Yeah, well, at least the Fairy Tale Theater version, she had baked the heart into gingerbread. Yeah, there was also a puppet version I saw with the custard spilling version, and where Gretel uses magic to defeat the witch. Yeah, seems like a lot of them have Gretel getting some kind of powers. Steve Samuels 3, oh my god, sends a gift of 5 gold beans. I guess you can call the kids sweet meat. I am not giving that one a laugh. Yeah, that's a really bad joke. Okay. There are some sillier versions. There was a Looney Tunes version, well, with Bugs Bunny going in and saving Hansel and Gretel, and then a witch Hazel going after him instead. That one made Hansel and Gretel into these German stereotypes. You know, the ones in later, the blonde ones in Lederhosen who are overweight, and they're going, yeah, it's good, which is. I lived in Austria. I've known Germans. I find that very, very offensive. It's just not nice. And yeah, also doesn't make sense to the story because Hansel and Gretel are supposed to be starving. They don't just gorge on the house because they're greedy, but hello, they've been walking through the woods and have been starving for half their life. Hoodwink 2 also used that stereotypes, but also kind of made Hansel and Gretel the evil ones who were just manipulating the witch so that they could get what they wanted. And Hoodwink 2 was a really weird movie sequel. Hoodwink 1 was really good though, just Red Riding Hood. There was also a very silly version in the Fractured Fairy Tale segment from the 1950s and 60s cartoon Rocky and Bullwinkle. If you guys have never seen that, you really should. It's pretty much where just animation on television started. In that one, the witch doesn't eat the kids, but turns them into anteaters for some reason. And Gretel, in order to turn her brother back, offers to teach the witch how to ride a broom, because the witch apparently doesn't know how to ride a broom. But she's like, but you're not a witch. Oh, there's a little witch in all us girls. I don't know, it was the 50s. And it ends up with the witch flying into orbit and the woodcutter becoming a hunter so that they can just hunt the animals and have them eat. Which, you know what, is a logical solution if there were at least birds in the woods. There was also a Latin American version done by Happily Ever After Stories for Every Child. If you remember, I talked about that series in my last episode. And of course, the most recent version is Gretel and Hansel in January of 2020, which, you know, it was a bit slow going and weird in some places, but it was not too much of a stretch from the original. The title change, the director said, was because Gretel was made the older sibling and played by the girl from It. Why is that actress cast in all these films of monsters eating kids? And it was told as a coming-of-age story with a bit of a more feminist approach and kind of psychological horror. BellaPinkSavage sends a 5 gold beans gift asking, how scary was it? Yeah, well, I worked in a movie theater, I saw movies for free, I thought I'd see that one, and also because I plan on doing this episode. Okay, I was not as scared of this one as I was of some of the other versions I mentioned, but I will say this one kind of made me want to barf in one place, and I was glad I'd eaten my food before that scene, and I will explain what that was soon. Yeah, so in this one, we have a 16-year-old Gretel and an 8-year-old Hansel, and Gretel is trying to find work as a housemaid. But the first thing the merchant of the house asks if her virtue was intact. Yeah, he was clearly not looking for a maid. And their deranged widow mom kicks the kids out while wielding an axe and saying, go, get out of here so that I won't have to worry about you anymore. I know that mother was more insane. Yeah. And so they go to look for work in the woods, hoping to find a woodsman who will take them on. They first take shelter with this really kind monk, but Gretel doesn't trust him. And then they come to a house that's not made of gingerbread, but it has an old lady who has an abundance of food that over time doesn't spoil. And she doesn't really give her game away for a while. And Gretel, not wanting to take gifts for free, offers to clean house for a little bit. So in that one, the witch wasn't really forcing them to do anything. They're just playing the nice act all the time, which is actually kind of smart, I must say. And Gretel keeps getting these visions, and the witch starts growing fond of her in a sick, twisted way, and starts teaching her some magic and potion making. And it comes to a point where Gretel is getting so mad at Hansel because he wants to leave and go back to mom. But Gretel wants to stay with the old lady and keep learning things. And she gets so mad that she demands that he leave, and then the next day he's just gone. And this movie really doesn't sugarcoat the cannibalism. In fact, oh boy, yeah, so it showed a scene where Gretel has a dream of this young woman who takes all the spoiled food and then parts of children and uses them to transform into the new amazing food. And Gretel's just so disgusted, and I was so disgusted. I was like, yeah, I can tell you people are like, wow. So I'd say that was the scariest part of the movie, and I'm so glad I'd finished my food by then. Yeah, what they were going for there was the witch. She was actually trying to convince Gretel to become like her, to rid herself of her attachments by eating her brother and gain her full power, as she had eaten her own children. Yeah, and it ends up with Gretel using the powers that she learned from the witch to defeat her and throw her into the fiery pit. Yeah, that was the witch's biggest mistake, underestimating Gretel. Gretel then takes over the witch's house and sends Hansel off to make a man of himself. Like I said before in the original tale, it's not just about, not taking food from strangers. Be careful who you trust, because not all wolves are going to look like wolves. It's about children coming into their own and becoming separate from their family. And in this one, it's Gretel coming into her power in her own way, not through the witch's greedy and manipulative way. Because the witch had made some pretty good points, actually, that women's power is feared, and so they're not allowed to do much. And as women, we we have this sense to fight the patriarchy and actually the matriarchy, because there are women who are all for tradition who will get in the way of us becoming who we are too. They will tell us girls that we're not as good as boys and that we should get married because we're girls, not because we are in love or anything. And I've met a few women like that. I had this coworker at my nursery school who when I told her that I couldn't cook, she asked me, well, how are you going to cook for your husband? I had not come out of work yet for a number of reasons. Yeah, but fighting the patriarchy doesn't mean you have to go to the extreme like the witch did in Gretel and Hansel. So yeah, that is all the notes I have on this story. So if you guys have anything else you want to add about Hansel and Gretel, like any versions you may have seen, then now's the time. Minimum is 5 gold beans, or if you have any other questions you want to ask, maybe about the series or about myself even. Other ways that you can contribute to this podcast: you can become a patron right now and pledge at least $1 a month. Just $1 will make all the difference. You'd be able to contribute to these live streams unlimited for free. You can do that by just going to the Beauties and Beasts page and clicking the Become a Patron button. Okay, so BellaPinkSavage sends a gift of, I forget what the flowers is. Is that 180 gold beans? Yeah, and she asks, was this story meant for kids, DF? Yeah, like a lot of the Grimm's fairy tales, they were stories for kids. These days we kind of think of fairy tales as innocent, or we're under that impression that they're innocent. A way to encourage kids to follow their dreams, but in reality, fairy tales were meant to scare children. And for good reason. Like, watch out for the adults who will prey on them, and I hate to say this, but also watch out for the pedophiles. They're not always male. Yeah, and kind of using eating children as a metaphor for sexuality, I am really uncomfortable saying this, but it's true. Yeah, so it was meant for kids as a way to scare them, not really as a way to enchant them, as most of the fairy tales were. Red Riding Hood, another stranger danger. Steve Samuels 3 has another question for 5 gold beans. If you're fine with me asking, would you ever do an episode on Quest for Camelot? That would be a good topic. I think in a way, it does have a theme of, because we have a main couple with, one of them is blind and it's seen through another person's eyes that don't really see, I see what you mean there. That would be interesting. What I was thinking of doing next, it was going to be for Women's History Month, but because I was delayed. But I was wondering if I could still do it. I was going to do my next episode on Red Riding Hood, kind of expanding more on the whole stranger danger and watch out for pedophiles thing, and just though honestly I will say, probably using a wolf as the bad guy was not really the smartest move, because then if you make it look like a bad guy, I'd say the only thing that Hansel and Gretel really relates to Beauty and the Beast is not to judge people based on appearance, because we will assume a little old lady is going to be completely harmless, but she turned out not to be. So yeah, just don't trust strangers, whether they are young men, old women, young women, old men. I mean, if you're lost in the woods, you can maybe ask for you could try to ask for directions. Obviously with Hansel and Gretel, they kind of had very little choice. But, yeah. But you really should watch out. Like, don't go into other people's homes. Don't take food from them, because it might be poisoned, or they might want something else in return. Okay, so Steve Samuels 3 for 5 gold beans asks, how about an episode on ringing bell and how one's vow for revenge can twist good intentions? Ringing bell? I actually don't know what that is. Do you think you can expand on that? You don't have to donate for the explanation. Okay, so while he's coming up with that, I have to ask, guys, would you be interested in Red Riding Hood being the next episode? The answer's not going to cost gold beans. I just want to get your opinion on that. Yes. Okay, I think I'll do that, even though it's not Women's History Month anymore, since that one that one has a female heroine and actually has been, it's been really polished. Like, it's taken so many different directions. There's even some where Red Riding Hood and the wolf end up getting together. And obviously they had made their relationship a lot less creepy in the way they set it up, but yeah. I will explain later on that one. Yeah. Okay, so Steve Samuels explained what Ringing Bell is. It's an anime about a lamb named Chiron whose mother dies to a wolf, and he goes to avenge her by becoming a wolf himself, only to kill the wolf and no longer have a home to go back to. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Speaking of anime, I think another one has to do with animals, so it'd be Beastars. That one I have been watching. Which is a love story between a wolf and a rabbit. And oh yeah, you know what, that ringing bell does sound like Brother Bear. You're right there, Bella. Brother Bear I do have as one of my future episode topics. The thing is, there are so many stories with Beauty and the Beast themes that, you know, it's just a matter of figuring out when to do them. At least I won't ever run out of ideas. Okay, water. Okay, since I've actually gone over all my notes, we're gonna end off at the hour mark, so about 13 more minutes. So if you guys have any more questions, comments, just shoot. Just remember that next week we'll be doing the charity live stream for the International Rescue Committee to help battle the coronavirus in Syria and other crisis zones. Yeah, because they actually need the help more than we do. I mean, at least we have the luxury of staying home. That's all I have to do for 6 weeks. Just stay at home with my parents and my grandma, and soon my brother, because he is coming home. Yeah, I want to do that for people. Alright, so 5 gold beans from Steve Samuels 3. One last donation to give before heading out. Can you do an episode comparing Avatar's handling of love versus the Legend of Korra? Korra's handling of relationships. The thing with that one, I'd have to actually watch the series. Yeah, I have not watched Avatar or Legend of Korra. I watched a couple episodes of Avatar, and I unfortunately watched the movie. Look, I was bored in a hotel room. It was on Nickelodeon. I just watched it. I know why nobody likes it, okay? Whole lot of whitewashing just made me crazy. Okay, and BellaPinkSavage, unrelated question. What's for 5 gold beans? What's your favorite Disney song? Not including Disney princess movies. Oh, not including Disney princess movies. Okay, now you've made it hard. What's my favorite? No. Does Aladdin count? I mean, it has a Disney princess, but it's not exactly a princess movie. Wow. Okay, yeah, Aladdin counts. I'd say, not Lion King. Hercules is not a. You know, I think Hercules is not a Disney princess movie. It would have to be I Won't Say I'm in Love. She's not an official Disney princess, so there you go. I won't say I'm in love. I did an Applejack cover of that once. So yeah, that was real. Yeah, that I think that one. Yeah, I'd have to say off the top of my head. What was I saying? Yeah. Another way you can contribute to the podcast is buying merchandise off of Redbubble. They will soon have buttons available, especially the LGBT merch. I made sure that I had those options clicked for all those designs. So yeah, if you want to buy some pride flags or merchandise related to Beauties and Beasts, go to my Redbubble page, Fanatic 23, and a whole lot of stuff. From buttons to t-shirts, to socks, to notebooks, to water bottles, to laptop covers, to beer coasters. Yeah, Redbubble has a whole lot of stuff. Okay, so, I did my math wrong. Maybe we'll end this sooner, because it starts to die down here. Okay, any more questions, comments? 5 gold beans is a minimum. You can donate more if you'd like, though. Unless you want to save it for the charity live stream next week. Hope to have Magpie Pony join. She has expressed interest. We think we're doing Wednesday. I hope Will and Katie will join too. So yeah, for that one, donations we will need because it's for charity, the International Rescue Committee. Heads up if you want to get prepared. So BellaPinkSavage, a gift of, the cup one. I think that's 30 gold beans, right? Okay, so what fictional characters remind you of yourself? Okay, definitely Belle, for starters. Also, how could I forget her name? I don't know if anyone's heard of Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey. What was her name? What was her name? Hold on a second. Catherine Morland, that was her name. I related to her a lot. It's actually one of Jane Austen's lesser-known novels, Northanger Abbey. Catherine Morland, she loved to read, and she kind of thought the rules of society were weird. And she kind of had her head in a cloud sometimes. I related to her more than I related to most of Jane Austen's heroines. I liked her. And I relate to Hermione Granger. Just, always being the studious student. That's what I was like at school. And just not putting up with other people's crap. Yeah, that's how I was. I kind of relate to the bookish characters or the misfits and outcasts. That might be why Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite fairy tales, because, that's where a misfit and social outcasts gets a reward for just being her. Okay, I think we might have to end this soon, so any last questions or comments? Why are you thinking of that? So what I'm planning for the charity live stream is like 5 gold beans minimum for a question or comment they want read aloud. 30 gold beans for one-line voice requests, 180 gold. Was it 100 gold beans for? Longer line voice requests, and 180 for singing requests. Yeah, I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember all the symbols, so I hope I got some of those donations right. Oh well. Okay, so how much have we gotten so far? Okay, so total. So we've had a total donation of 222 PodPoints for this stream, and that equates to $2.22. Thank you guys very much. It's just, yeah, little goes a long way. And keep a lookout next week for the charity live stream for the International Rescue Committee. Okay, so BellaPinkSavage, one more question there. Okay, shoot, I'm all ears. Okay, what was your favorite Disney Channel show growing up for 5 gold beans? Favorite Disney Channel show? Ooh, that would really depend on the that would really depend on the age I was. I would have to say my definite favorite, and one that I love looking back on all the time, was The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Yeah, that one. And that one was so hilarious, and the writing was just brilliant. And yeah. Like, there are very few sitcoms that come out these days that make me laugh that hard. Yeah. Not to mention Arwen. Arwen was like Arwen and Mr. Mosby and Esteban and Muriel, the side characters, are just the best part of that TV series. And just to add something that the Sweet Life on Deck didn't really cut. Like Sweet Life on Deck just made London dumber and dumber, but Sweet Life Zack and Cody gave her some depth, and also her dynamic with Maddie was a lot better than her dynamic with Bailey. Bailey was kind of a bit boring for me. Yeah, but I love Zack and Cody. Okay. Alright, so I've set all my notes on the fairy tale, and I have a question. Was this time good for you guys, or do you want it to be like a little earlier, later? Also trying to consider what time would be better for me to do the charity live stream next week. Of course, I'll have to talk with Magpie Pony about that, of when she's available to lend her voice. Yeah, your answer doesn't cost gold beans. This is just generally asking if this was a good time to do it. And also, do you think we should be doing this? Okay, so it started at 5 p.m. for you, and okay, pretty good time. Yeah, because I'm trying to also keep in mind at California time, because that's where most of my listeners and my hosts live. So yeah. Okay. Also, question. Do you want to do this every other Thursday like I did with the regular episodes before, or because we are so bored? We have I especially have ample free time. Do you think we should do this just every Thursday for a short while? Like, would you guys be up for that? Like, I'd be game. I don't really have much going on. I have been working on my novel. I've been working on my other creative projects. Yeah, every Thursday. Yeah, I think I'll give that a try. Yeah, so next Thursday, very well. Next Thursday we'll be on Little Red Riding Hood. And keep on the lookout next week, hopefully Wednesday, for the International Rescue Committee live stream. We'll help some others who are not as prepared for the coronavirus and can't really hide in their homes at the moment because they have no homes. Yeah, let's keep in mind. It could be totally worse for us than being low on toilet paper. Yeah, every Thursday. Yeah. Okay, yeah, every Thursday. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Alright, so have your gold beans ready for the charity live stream, because there the donations will really matter. Okay. But thank you everybody for your little contributions in this live stream. And we've ranked up a total of 225 pod points, which is about $2.25. So thank you so much. Like I said, it's my only source of income for the next 6 weeks. So shrug. All right, you've all been great. And remember, don't take candy from strangers or any other food for that matter. Don't trust little old ladies just because they're little old ladies right away. And don't send your kids out into the woods alone, whether you're mad at them or totally selfish or not. Breadcrumbs are a terrible way to find your way back home. They're not really really solid enough. And always practice fire safety whenever you're working with a stove or oven. Otherwise, you might end up cooking yourself or being pushed in. And don't be stupid enough to peer into an oven when there's a little girl there who can push you in. Yeah, that's the moral of this story. Not taking food from strangers, but don't underestimate little girls, because we can be pretty badass. All right, everybody, thank you so much. This is DF signing off. And remember that true beauty comes from the kindness you show unto others, and your kindness will not go unrewarded. Become a patron, order my merchandise on Redbubble. Join me for the next live stream. Bye.